We came from humble beginnings. We started really with a little storefront, but I'm happy to say that we came a long ways. Three, four gentlemen, including a rabbi, walked into my office at that time, and they asked me would I consider building a synagogue. So my answer to them was, I'm a contractor and a developer, but I'm not a synagogue builder. There may be some other contractors who are more qualified to build. No, they insisted that I should build. So when I asked them where, they weren't sure. When I asked them how much money is available to build, they said they don't have any money. Well, do you have land? They said, we don't have any land.
The city of Aventura actually came after the building of the Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center. The city was incorporated 16 years ago, and the temple was here for 20 years as of now. And I'm proud to say that I believe that this synagogue was instrumental in giving the area a sense of community. And I truly and firmly believe that if it wasn't for this synagogue, many people might not have moved to this area and given that sense of community.
This synagogue started with zero equity. It was located in a little storefront, and it supported itself from day to day and month to month. And at that time, of course, Aventura was not as populated as in today, but they had a membership and they succeeded in their own way to keep the door open, but it was strictly a 1,000 or 1,200 square foot storefront synagogue. I did call on my friends, such as Don Sofer, who was the first one to contribute a very large amount of money, and the other gentleman that you mentioned, another friend of mine, may rest in peace, Marvin Bernstein, Srulovitz.
When I passed the synagogue, which I know when it was started to build, and all the efforts that we went through by building it, it was like a baby, you see, and we didn't let it, and we didn't let it till this day.
20 years ago, Bill Lander came to my husband, the late Marvin Bernstein, as many of you know, and told him about building a temple, and Marvin was so excited. He asked him to contribute, which Marvin generously did. And beside that, he did something so special. When they built the foundation, he threw, I don't recall, silver or gold coins for mazel, but that was Marvin Bernstein's way. I know many of you loved him and admired him, and I miss him.
Before anything happened, I was fortunate to be in Israel, and I've met a man who I thought would be the most perfect person to help me put this synagogue, building, financing, and staff together. His name is Dr. Amir Baron, and I can assure you that without Dr. Baron, this would have never taken place.
My father was a real estate developer in South Florida, and for him the synagogue, and frankly Israel as well, was always the key to his life. The center, always important. Charity was the most important thing to him. And then he was very happy to be involved in building this synagogue. And as it progressed, when we opened in 1990, it was just a wonderful thing. He was there in the march from the little storefront next to Publix down here. He was right in the front row. So it was a very proud day for our entire family.
Zamru Adonai bechinor, bechinor.
Well, my connection to this building is that I was a part of the synagogue when we were in a storefront. And at that time, we were planning the building, and I was actively participated in getting the building built. You know, I actually was part of the entourage that moved the Torah. We walked the Torah over from the old storefront to here.
Well, the Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center represents actually a lot of things to me. Probably most importantly is my ability to be able to come to a place of worship and be a Jew and to be with fellow Jews and to be who I am and to be around other people who are also comfortable in expressing their Judaism and, you know, our rituals and our heritage. I think to me that's probably the most important thing, is to have a sacred place where we as Jews can come.
I believe that one of the reasons, the main reason maybe it got done, is because everybody believed it could be done.
Yachad harim yiraneinu.
Many people find the name, the Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center, to be one that is misleading. Oftentimes people call the synagogue and say, "Are you a Jewish community center?" And we say, technically we're a synagogue, but I think whoever came up with this name had a greater vision for what a synagogue could be and ought to be. I always find myself saying that Jews need Jews to be Jewish. We're not the type of faith where you can go off on a mountaintop and meditate eating a grain of rice every day and communing with the spirit that unites all things in order to manifest the Jewish tradition.
Well, the new tagline of the synagogue, which I think is brilliant, is "You belong here." And I think that's really true for everybody. I think there's programming that runs the gamut of multi-generation and also cross-pollination of those generations. There's the Tauber Academy, which for many people is the gateway into the synagogue, and for many children is their entranceway into the first school experience. For young professionals, there's a group. For the Yaya sisterhood, the brotherhoods, the beyond baby boomers, so forth and so on. There really is a little something for everyone. The programming is dynamite, the warmth here, the friendliness, it's just very all-encompassing.
Even for me.
Even for you.
Thank you.
When somebody who is not Jewish comes into a Jewish site, sometimes they're a little intimidated, but the warmth, the graciousness, the hospitality, and the stories, the beautiful, wonderful, funny stories that Amir always had to tell everyone, always put everyone at ease. And it was very easy to see that this is a true community center.
I believe at the core what a rabbi ought to be doing is building community. I serve the synagogue, but ultimately my job is to create a spiritual home for people that feel a deep sense of rootedness, in their neighborhood, in their area, that they don't want to leave, they don't want to separate from. They want to give back towards, and they also want to gain something from that experience as well. So building community is my #1 job as a rabbi, and here at the Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center, I've been given many wonderful opportunities to do so, and it's been a privilege to watch this congregation grow and thrive.
Well, the synagogue is the main religious sanctuary of the city. And basically, it is, it's a cultural spot. It's a place where, people come to pray. It brings in you have a lot of intellectual lectures here. We have, you know, attorneys, you have great speakers, you have the presidents come here to speak, and prime ministers and things like that. So it is a culture, and of course the city adds to it with their building. But this has been the cultural center of this whole area, so to speak.
And then, going 10 steps beyond that, Dr. Barone has these wonderful relationships with people around the world, and certainly our national and international leaders. And when we, the community, are fortunate enough to have some of those leaders brought here by Dr. Barone, the general community is invited in to partake of the discussion, to listen. And how wonderful, how spectacular is that? What a magnificent opportunity. Not an opportunity you would receive in any community, let alone in a synagogue.
Aventura played host today to a world leader of peace. Former Israeli Prime Minister Shimon Peres spoke today at the Turnberry Jewish Center. Peres was one of the major architects. From the very beginning,
the synagogue has always been able to attract and bring to this community outstanding political leaders. Barbara Boxer, Chuck Schumer, Joe Lieberman, and my favorite is obviously President Clinton.
Clinton, the featured guest speaker tonight at the Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center. About 900 people packed the synagogue to hear the former president speak.
I had the opportunity to meet with him approximately 2 years ago, and when I introduced myself as mayor of the city of Aventura, the first words out of his mouth were, "I've had the privilege of being in your community. I was at your synagogue, Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center. What a magnificent sanctuary that you have in that community."
Our synagogue not only is known in this community and even in the city, it's known throughout the world. I mean, if you speak to people who are important in Israeli government and politics, they know Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center, and they probably have been here. We've entertained so many important people in politics, in all areas, in the news industry, entertainment industry. We get a lot of people to come and speak to our synagogue, and we're eternally grateful for that. I mean, last year, Professor Alan Dershowitz came down and spoke to us, and as a matter of fact, he has become a member of our synagogue.
When we get important speakers here, important dignitaries like President Clinton, who really topped everything off for us, but we've had many, many senators and congressmen and presidents and prime ministers from Israel. It shows to us, number one, Aventura really has made its own little mark in this country, our little town of Aventura. And it's wonderful for all our congregants and everybody in the community, even if they don't belong to the synagogue, to be able to touch people like that, people who run our country, people who run Israel, because more important than anything is Israel, the United States and Israel. That's what it's all about for all of us.
Israel needs a strong Jewish community in the world to support us, to sustain us, to help us in times of need, but also stand with us in times of happiness. Similarly, the Jewish communities abroad need Israel to be strong. They need Israel as a symbol. They need it as a point of reference. They need it as a symbol of unity. They need it as a homeland, not only in times of difficulty, but also in times of happiness. As such, I believe that Jewish communities in the world and Israel have a relationship which is really a two-way street. We have Israeli dignitaries coming to Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center on a regular basis. And Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center sends delegations and missions to Israel regularly as well, so that we maintain this relationship alive and dynamic.
Dr. Barone introduced us to a great sculptor, artist named Frank Meisler from Israel, we went to Dick Simon's office at his company, and we spent time with him, and we showed him a mock-up of a piece of sculpture that Frank Meisler was proposing called the Gates of Jerusalem. And as a result of that, Dick decided to dedicate that in memory of his wife on behalf of his family. And that piece of sculpture is in the lobby of our synagogue for everyone to see. And thousands of people look at that every year. It's a very beautiful piece.
ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור, הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור. ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור, הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור.
We're very fortunate. We have, if not the largest, one of the largest groups of survivors of any synagogue in America. And that group has helped to make this synagogue who we are today.
Before I parted from my father for the last time, which the Germans parted us, he actually commended me, saying, look me in the eyes, and he says, you're the youngest in the family, you must survive. And when you survive, you should tell of the atrocities that happened to the Jewish people.
It is imperative that we as a synagogue help to promote the concept of never forget.
I had a dream of building a Holocaust memorial in this synagogue. From the beginning, I had the cooperation from all the board of directors and from all the leadership.
I feel that I lost everybody, and I remember it. I can't forget.
Well, when I walk through there, I'm always drawn to the yard site plaques for my parents. That's the first thing. And then after that, the wall with the partisan fighters.